Welcome to Passive Aggressive Income. This program may contain strong language. The content may not be suitable for audiences under the age of 17. We understand many of our listeners may not agree with all of our personal viewpoints. We in no way, shape, or form mean to be offensive to anyone. Our show notes will provide all of our source material included for each episode. Now let's get passive aggressive. Welcome back to another episode of Passive Aggressive Income. I don't know why I started that off like so, but
We start again.
excited. Yeah, I'm just excited to be here with Lexi, one of the co-hosts. I'm Mims, and we are going to be switching gears this week. Lexi, I don't know if you want to start off by telling what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, so this week, I feel like this episode is a long time coming, talking about social media and just like how to have a really kick-ass social media strategy. As someone who has been running a business doing social media management and marketing for the last 4 years, and also runs this podcast with Mims. I've
Mm-hmm.
learned a lot on how to be successful on social media. And so this episode is talking about all things social media in relation to your brand and business and giving some tips along the way.
I'm excited for this.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's a long time coming because like I've been doing this for so long and it's something that I do really enjoy and I'm passionate about. So happy to finally be talking about it on this episode.
Yeah.
So to start off, I'll give a little bit of background into my business, Star Media, and sort of how I got started doing all of these things. So in 2019, in August of 2019, my husband Alex and I opened Star Media to do wedding videography. And we then expanded to hire 1099 contractors who were photographers to take photos, wedding photos that I would edit. And we then split the business into two parts, so Star Media and Star Media Weddings.
Mm.
And before this, Alex and I had a YouTube channel, which we posted like travel vlogs and weekend adventures, and I did all the social media for that. And I loved like that was my favorite part of running the YouTube channel, probably was like doing the social media, promoting our videos, sharing travel stories, giving life updates, posting our photography, and just interacting with our followers. It got me really excited.
Yeah.
So, when my job at the time, I was working like a full-time job as an ecological technician. I was working outside in the field, and they asked if someone was interested in taking over their social media pages. And so I jumped on it right away because I had
Yeah.
been doing this for our YouTube channel and loved it. Funny thing is, I still work with them today, over 4 years later. They were my first client and they're my longest client.
Awesome.
When I started doing that and wedding season was slowing down, we started pitching random video ideas to some local businesses and we got an in with them and we were able to sort of upsell social media management services from that in. And then I got more clients through word of mouth because of this other client that I started with. And then through some outreach on a later episode, I'll dedicate an episode to finding clients in my process with that. But so yeah, I started picking up traction. And then at the end of 2019, I quit my full-time job in the field that I went to school for, and I decided to pursue Star Media full time.
What a journey.
It really was a journey. Social media management and social media marketing. Those two things sound very similar, but they're actually quite different.
Okay.
So social media management is like curating content, posting consistently, interacting with your followers, doing all of the like everyday things that you do on social media. And social media marketing is when you are investing in ads and you're trying to make money from social media, getting website clicks and purchases and things like that. Marketing doesn't really work unless you have a good management strategy. Um, so I'm not going to dive too much into social media marketing in this episode because really I think the key here is having a good management strategy and just being able to have like a good following and be posting good content and things like that. And the marketing side of things really comes later. And
Mm-hmm.
also, I'm not really passionate about the marketing side of social media. And
Mm-hmm.
it's actually why I've decided to move away from doing my business and pursue a different career path. So for this episode, I'm just going to focus on content. So to start, branding. Um, I so it sounds so nerdy, but when I hear this word, I get excited. Branding is like having so when someone looks at your business, they have an image in their head. So
Mm,
it talks about like your logo or an image that you use. So for our purposes, like our podcast cover,
mm-hmm.
theme colors, having a voice. So I'll use passive aggressive income as a example for branding.
Mm-hmm.
We talked a little bit about this in a previous episode, but we decided to have a photo shoot to make our podcast cover. And because we are, business women and entrepreneurs and real estate investors, we decided to dress up and be a little bit more like fancy business looking. We went to a coffee shop instead of doing a photo shoot in nature, which is originally an idea that we bounced around
Right.
because it just didn't really make sense for the content of our podcast. And
Mm-hmm.
then we took a look at some color palettes and came up with some theme colors that you will see reflected in all of our posts and also reflected in just sort of my editing style with pictures and also what we decided to wear and the colors of the coffee shop. It all just worked out really well.
Yes.
Yeah, when you look at like our Instagram page, you can see the brand, you can see those colors being used. And then with a
Right.
voice, with voice also, yes, we are, entrepreneurs and that can be taken really fancy, but with who Mims and I are as people, like we are not like uppity type of people. Like we swear on our podcast, like we'll use emojis in our social media posts. So all of those things we sort of like discussed ahead of time. We're like, should we like, is it okay to swear? Because like I swear all the time in my regular life. And we're like, yeah, that's fine. That's
Right.
who we are. That's part of our brand.
Right. Like authenticity is part of our brand, not something that
Exactly.
we put out just for show. Our branding is wrapped up in who we are and what we like to reflect. So
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yeah, and
awesome.
you'll see that in like all of our episodes and why last week we talked about real estate stuff and the week before too. But then before that, we talked about podcasting and, we've also talked about like money tips and saving for
Mm-hmm.
retirement. Like all of these things is just our brand reflects who we are as people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think really to be successful on social media, you have to be authentic. You have to be putting your real face forward for people.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not, people will pick up on that and they'll get like a feeling that like it's fabricated. And like, what's the point of trying to connect with people on social media if it's not real?
Right. Or like if you are just like the same as every other account that I see scrolling, it's just like, do I really want to follow the five versions of this? Like I don't want to do that.
Right. Yeah. It's about like finding your own way to showcase who you are in a way that like hasn't been done before.
Yeah, I love that.
Which yeah, which I think is it's the point. So we'll get into the content section of social media. This is kind of like the meat and potatoes, I guess.
Okay.
Number one, consistency is key.
Mm-hmm.
Posting more often. If you can post daily, that's great. But if you're posting like things that no one cares about, or you're not really putting effort into it, and you're not looking back and reflecting at like your branding guidelines, then it doesn't really matter how often you post if it's just not quality content. So definitely quality is more important than quantity.
For sure.
And even if you can only manage one post per week, that's better than posting three or more times one week and then not posting anything for the next 3 weeks and then trying to start up again. It's when you post consistently, there's a higher chance of your content being shown to your followers, which will
Mm-hmm.
give you more regular engagement. Whereas if you
Mm-hmm.
do tend to take like long extended breaks, then how like the like Facebook and Instagram and whatever algorithm works is like they are going to promote the people who are on their platform all the time, putting
Mm-hmm.
pushing content out to their followers. So you will be rewarded for maintaining that consistency and not having to start from scratch again.
And I think it's important to also track which posts or videos or whatever you're pushing out there, uh which ones are having a lot of interactions and a lot of views and a lot of likes and comments, just so that you maybe can focus on putting more stuff like that out there. Like if your brand is about, I don't know, making soaps and people really like your how-tos, or like when you pick the flowers for whatever, like if you see that there's a trend in higher views or higher interactions and engagement with specific things, then push that out more than the ones that you don't see, you know?
Exactly. That's a very good tip is so not only are you just, posting consistently and you're, pushing quality content out there, but really take a look at it and see what people are reacting the best
Mm-hmm.
to.
Mm-hmm.
Some people really like beside behind the scenes videos and things like
Yeah.
that. And if you're getting a lot of reactions, do more of that. So pay attention for sure.
Yeah, like I like to do reels, and I've noticed that a lot of people love like my dog reels. You know, people go crazy for the dog reels or my workout reels, or but then I don't trend as much if I just do like my thrifting. So like know your audience and know what they are looking for and see what you can push out more so that you can keep that engagement going.
Yeah, exactly. And that moves me into so talking about content specifically. So there are a few different categories that sort of all content can fall into these different buckets, and that's entertaining, inspiring, educational, or promotional. And I'm sure there's a few more too, but just sort of like general content types, I would say those four are pretty big. So entertaining could be like funny reels, goofy stories and memes, or like Mim said, like animal reels. Like if you have pets, like I love watching
Oh
like
yeah.
cat videos and like that kind of stuff I think is super fun. So,
Yes.
and then under the inspiring bucket, that could be like successful stories of maybe how you got to a position you are like with your business, or some sort of meaningful quote from your podcast that you are, putting out on social media now, and
Mm-hmm.
having anecdotes related to that.
Right.
Educational could be, like I said, insider looks into your industry or behind the scenes, showing the process of your products. So to use the example that Mim said, if you make your own soaps, then you can have like a time lapse of your whole process from start to finish. I think personally that stuff is really cool. I love
Yeah.
seeing how like the sausage is made, I guess.
Yes, me too.
um,
Except actual
yes,
sausage.
no, I want nothing to do with that.
No.
And then lastly, promotional content is important. So this would have like a call to action to get your followers to like click on a link or make a purchase or do
Hmm.
do whatever it is that you want them to do. But I do want to warn you that no more than like maximum 25 to 30% of your content should be promotional content. Your the bulk of what you're posting really should be providing some kind of value, whether
Hmm.
it's making people laugh or, showing them something that they haven't seen before or whatever it may be. Just make sure that what you're posting is what people actually want to see you posting. And if you're constantly just selling to them and telling them to like go do things, then they're going to lose trust with you and lose interest, and they will probably unfollow you.
Nobody wants to be sold to, but if you can do it without them even realizing, not in like a tricky way, but just in like an organic way,
Mm.
that is like the best way to get people to buy into you, your brand, or whatever you're selling, because it's just kind of like you're going to buy a car and you have to interact with that pushy car salesman, and it's just like, bro, I've had enough. Like you've tried to sell me this, I don't know, the Geo Metro like 5 times. I don't want this Geo Metro. So it's just like pepper it in, you know, don't be so abrasive about it. Have that cool content that keeps pulling people back in. And then once they are pulled in, they're going to be more likely to buy in. So make
Mhm.
sure that it's not all sell, 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 like Lexi said.
Right. And it's, you can, like you can sprinkle the promotional things in along with like your
Mm,
educational post or whatever. You can say like,
mm-hmm.
this product really helped make this process a lot easier for me. And so like it doesn't have to be like this is a post and I am selling to you and that's it.
Right, right. And I think that it once if it's helpful, like I've seen a lot of videos where girls or anybody really, I shouldn't say girls, post videos of like this new like hair curler and how it just like makes them have beautiful locks. Yes, they're selling it, but I'm seeing them actually use it and it looks gorgeous after it's done. But like make it relatable, make it fun, and make it like you're not really selling it. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess just the word is organic for that.
Organic for sure. That's a really good word. And it's there's no shame in promotional content and in trying to sell your services or your brand. That's part of the business and it's part of why you
Mm-hmm.
do this.
Mm-hmm.
But having the main focus be on all of the other things that we mentioned, it
Mm-hmm.
will make it easier for people to be sold to. If they do feel like they're getting value out of your page, whatever that value may look like, then they're okay with being sold to occasionally
Yes.
because you've built up trust with them and you've provided them with some sort of value.
Yes. You hit that real hard. Love it.
Yes. And yeah, like Mim said, short form videos are king right now. Make this a
Mm-hmm.
big part of your management plan. I think that, yeah, with like TikTok getting bigger
Mm-hmm.
and just people kind of have short attention spans. So those like 1 minute videos, whatever you can put in a 1 minute video, is really like I'll like I've been working on getting this under control, but I've spent a lot of time just like going from one video, like one reel to the next
Yes.
on Instagram.
Yes. It's such a problem, but I
It
love
is.
it.
I know. And then the last thing that I want to mention as far as content, I could go on forever about this, but one more thing is the stories feature. This is probably my favorite feature on social media, so like specifically Instagram. This
Mm-hmm.
allows you to connect with your audience. It's only up for 24 hours, but you can save your stories into highlights.
Mm-hmm.
But it gives your followers a look into your everyday life. It doesn't have to be as polished as the things that you post to your feed. And I found that it really drums up a lot of like one-on-one conversations with your followers. So I've
Mm-hmm.
gotten to know people that like I'm friends with that I've never met because of social media, because someone replied to my story about bouldering or like a place that I traveled to. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
And in addition to that, you can also share other pages' content to your story. So if you watch a really funny reel or something that you think is really cool, you can share that to your story and push that out to other people. You
You're
can
right.
tag other pages, and by showing other people support, they're more likely to show you support as well.
Yep, that's huge.
So that's a bit about content. Now moving on to tracking numbers. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this because I really think that the numbers aren't as important as the content. But
Mm-hmm.
when you use a business profile on various social media platforms, you get access to statistics and numbers about engagements, followers, clicks, things like that. And these can be really helpful tools, but I want to reiterate a point that I made in our Podcasting 101 episode. Try not to put too much weight into things that you can't control, like your
Mm-hmm.
number of listens or followers or subscribers or comments. You can't force anyone to do something.
Right.
So just stay consistent and do your best, and eventually you will find success. It may take weeks or months or even years, but if you're continuing to show up and make quality content, then other people will show up for you too.
And I think it's real to feel disheartened, to see you're not at the place that you want to be. And that's a real feeling and that's totally valid. And your feelings I can totally relate to.
Yes.
But what my husband always tells me that if you are having fun in what you're doing and you are having that outlet for passion and creativity, then the rest doesn't matter. I mean, it does in a sense if you're that's your sole business and you're living off of that. Yeah, sure, that then it's going to affect you, but I think that what really is important for the things that you put out is that you're enjoying your time. So make sure that that is number one on your priority list is that you are enjoying what you're doing. And then if you ever get to a point where, your numbers are sucking and you're not enjoying what you're doing, then reevaluate what you have to do to change all of that.
Yeah, very good point. Yeah, really, I mean, the point of all of this is to enjoy being on social media. It's a social platform and
Hmm.
it is supposed to be fun.
Hmm.
And, you can't control the number of people who follow you. You can only control the content. And you don't want a bunch of random people following you if they don't actually care about what you're posting anyways. So, really,
Hmm.
I know it's hard and it can be hard to, get caught up in like, oh, I lost 4 followers this week. Like, what am I doing wrong? Like, things like that just ebb and flow. That's okay.
Yes.
And you really want people in your circle who are interested in what you're doing and what you're talking about. You don't want just like random people or like robots that are like, on Instagram just like following you just for the number. Like that doesn't mean anything.
Right. Or like buy people to follow you because
Yeah.
it'll just boost you up. Like, just let it happen.
Well, and that's a good point to make because like that's not actually going to do you any good. It's very obvious when a profile is fake, and it's very obvious if you have like 20,000 followers and you get
Hmm.
like 7 likes on a post. Like
I
pretty
know.
fishy.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Like, you only get so many like interactions, but you have a ton of followers. And it's like, what's the point then? They're not even like, boosting you up in any way on social media. So I
Right.
never got it. I never bought into it. So
Yes. Yeah, me either. I think it's dumb.
yeah.
But that does bring me to a good point. So yes, followers aren't everything, but if you are running a business on social media, they do matter.
Hmm.
So I want to talk about hashtags. On Instagram, they limit you to 30 hashtags per post. It's up to you if you want to use all 30. Personally, I think that's a little bit excessive when
Yeah.
your captions like this big and then your hashtags are just like you're scrolling through them all. I think that's a lot, but that is the limit that Instagram gives you.
I never even knew that there was a limit. Usually I only do like maybe five or something like that. So
Right, yeah,
that's
like 5 or
crazy that
6.
there's a limit.
Yeah. um but they can be a good strategy to use. So there are 3 categories of hashtags that you should delegate to your hashtags in every post. 1/3 should be hashtags about your business or brand. So, passive aggressive income is always a hashtag that I use for our posting on our podcast. I will also shorten and do like PAI and do like real estate podcast or, whatever, something that
Hmm.
explains what our brand is.
Right.
And then the next third of your hashtags should be about your target audience. So, what are people that you are trying to target? What are things about them? So, I work with a real estate agent that I do their social media for, and I will do a hashtag like first time home buyer or, things
Hmm.
like that. So, you're trying to target people who are actually like interested, like try and reach your target audience.
Right.
And then the
Right.
last third of your hashtags, and this can be in any order, but just like a rough generalization on like what your hashtags should include.
Hmm.
They should be specific to your post. So if you're talking about money tips, then maybe you want to do a hashtag about like hashtag saving for retirement or
Hmm.
hashtag like I don't know, as an example. You can look back at our Instagram post because I've done that
Yeah.
research already. But something to keep in mind is you want to, before putting a hashtag on your post, you should search that hashtag and see how many posts are actually using it. So if you're a
Ooh.
smaller page, yeah, this is a hot tip.
Yes.
If you're a smaller page, then you don't want to do you like it's not useful for you to use a hashtag that like, millions of people have used because you're just going to get lost. So for an example, hashtag love has 2.1 billion posts. And you can go to your explore page and
Mm-hmm.
see hashtag love. And that's updating like every like millisecond with like a bunch of new posts. So if you do
Wow.
hashtag love, like that post isn't going to be seen by
Right.
anyone.
Right.
But then on the opposite end of the spectrum, you don't want to use hashtags that are so small that no one will ever see them organically. So
Right.
hashtag girl boss podcaster only has 3 posts associated with it. Like no one's ever going to
Um,
see that.
right. Right. Right.
So it's sort of about like finding that happy medium. And
Mm-hmm.
this is going to vary from page to page and depending on like your like how many followers you have or how big your page is, you can get away with, using hashtags that are a little bit bigger. And it's good to use a variety too. You can use some big hashtags. You should use some small hashtags. That's okay. But those are just some things to keep in mind. You don't want to just be clogging up your caption with things that aren't useful.
Right. Oh, but I'm learning so much with that because I know that that's a thing, but putting numbers to it really opened my eyes on what kind of hashtags to use and how to push you more out into that explore page.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good key. It's really good tip to use, and that's why I do like to include, like Mim said, I'm probably more around the like 5 to 8 hashtags per post
Yes.
kind of person. Because
Yes.
also like doing this whole process, I mean, I'm guilty of it. I'll sometimes just like write hashtags and not do any research because I'm like, you know what, that sounds good. Whatever. That's
Same.
fine. But something that I've done with my business when I get a new client, I will do all of my hashtag research for that client before I even get started doing their social media. And that way I know like what hashtags are good to use. And every once in a
Mhm.
while, I'll, do the research again and see what's changed and see if I like think of anything else along the way. I'll just add it to my spreadsheet of hashtags that I use for that client.
Girl, you ate all that. And you left no crumbs. So I love it.
Yes, all tips I've learned along the way with the business, so I'm happy to share them.
Yeah.
So we've talked about like how many hashtags to use with your post, but post formatting in general is also something I do want to briefly touch on. If you have a really long caption, I think that's fine. That could be a part of your brand. You maybe like to write really long stories, but if
Hmm.
it's one chunk of text, that can be kind of overwhelming and people
Mm.
probably aren't going to have the patience to like get through the whole thing. So break it up into sections if you just use spaces or
Hmm.
if you use emojis or bullet points, that makes it a lot more readable. And chances
Hmm.
are people will get through the whole thing. And then I
Right.
also suggest separating your hashtags out from your caption. So I like to do, like enter a few times and maybe put like a period enter, period enter. So it's just like
Yes.
separated. And then
Yep.
I'll put my hashtags. Another option is you could put them in a comment right after you post too.
Oh, I did not know the comment one. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. If you're using hashtags in a comments, it has the same effect as putting a hashtag in your caption.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So fun tips.
Yeah, I'm
And
learning. I'm taking
yes,
notes.
it is. Yeah. Yeah, it took me a long time, a lot of research, a lot of like, watching videos, and because I'm not formally educated to do marketing and social media and things like that. So it's all self-taught and trial and error. So
Right.
I'm happy to be a resource if someone else is going this route or just wanting to improve their own personal social media page. I'm happy to be that source of education because I definitely needed it at one point in time too.
Right.
So I will leave off with some final social media tips. I could honestly talk for hours about all things social media, and this really just feels like scratching the surface. But yeah, for the purpose of this episode, I'll leave off with just a couple more things to talk about. First, one tip that I like to give to people who feel overwhelmed about their being on social media and like how do they have the time to do this and be posting all the time. What I
Hmm.
do with my clients is I work on a monthly basis with them where I will, for example, go on a photo shoot for the client that I worked for doing ecological restoration. I'll go outside once a month and take pictures of and videos of whatever they got going on, and then I schedule out all of their posts for the following month. And then that gives me a whole month to get my content ready. I don't have to
Mm,
worry about posting it like every single day because you can use scheduling features. Like
yes.
on Meta Business, you can schedule posts out on Facebook and Instagram. You don't even have to worry about it. So whether a month is, some businesses are a bit more timely, so maybe you do it once a week, or maybe it doesn't matter and you can have your like base post scheduled out for the next 3 months. And then every once in a while you'll post things, like on a weekly basis that are relevant to whatever's happening in the world or with your business. But
Mm-hmm.
being able to post to get your content ready ahead of time will make it feel a lot less overwhelming.
Right.
And we did touch on this tip a little bit already, but have fun. Social media shouldn't feel like pulling teeth. Interact with other people and pages. That support will make them want to show you support back. It's called social media, and it should be like a fun thing. It shouldn't just be like this is a job.
Right, right.
And I mean, if it does feel like a job, you can always hire a social media manager. So
Right.
that
And
is an
like
option.
clearly social media managers have to do research, as you just, shared with us that you do research on your end on all different sorts of things that go into putting your page out there. So it's not like they just sit on their ass and just say, I'm posting this or I'm posting that. They do the work behind the scenes and look at the analytics and look at what's trending and look at what hashtags to use. Like, who thinks about doing that? They do.
Right. Yeah, it's really like if you're a business owner, you have to wear so many hats and you have so many responsibilities on your plate. And chances are you're not going to be perfect at doing social media because that's not what you specialize in. You specialize in
Right,
running your business. So
right.
hiring something like that out is not a bad thing. It you might feel hesitant about, letting someone else take the reins, but you can collaborate with your social media manager and you
Mm-hmm.
can, work with them to come up with content, or they can post some of like the like base content that you want to be pushing out every month. And then you can post other things like on a weekly basis if that's what you want to do. But having that person who is an expert to do all of
Mm-hmm.
the research and to make sure that they're, following trends and keeping your pages like, on lock,
Relevant. Right.
it's really like it's a special thing that you have the opportunity to do, that you probably wouldn't be able to just do on your own.
Right. Right.
And so another tip would be finding some sort of niche is going to help your page grow quicker. So we were talking about if you have a business and obviously whatever it is that industry your business is in or product or service that you're selling, that's your niche.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are just a, personal page and you want to grow a following, then you're going to, if you have some sort of niche that will help your page grow quicker, people will know what to expect from your page and will choose to follow based on the type of content that you're putting out. But I also want to say you should be posting what you're interested in. It's okay
Mm-hmm.
to switch gears and switch niches. I just suggest to transition this slowly. So, to give a personal example, on my personal Instagram page, I used to be sponsored by a hoop maker, Miss Hoops a lot. I used to, post videos all the time of me doing hula hoop tricks and dancing to music with my hoop all the time. And then I got busier in life. I started traveling more. I lost some interest in hooping. I became obsessed with photography. And while I occasionally continued, and I still do every once in a while post a hooping video, I also post a whole bunch of other things that I'm interested in too.
Mm-hmm.
And so you may lose followers initially because people are like, oh, like I don't really care about like, your photography. I'm here to see the hoop tricks. But
Right.
that's okay because eventually you'll gain more followers that are interested in what you've got going on in life and what you're interested in too.
That's true. Yep.
And yeah, and if you've done your strategy correctly, then your followers will stick around even if you are not posting as much of the things that they originally followed you for, because they
Right.
not only enjoy your content, but they feel like they've gotten to know you as a person and they want to stick around for that.
Right. Right.
And then my final tip for social media is, again, just try not to let the numbers get to you. Focus on what's in your control, quality and consistent content.
Right. And maybe not comparing yourself to other people it's so hard to not do that on social media as it is, as, your own personal uh account, or even when you look at other people on there and you go, well, I don't look like that, or I don't dress like that, or mine isn't as polished as that person. It's just, you are your own brand, and if you like it and if you are really proud of what you're representing, then that is your uniqueness. So just stick with it, and everything will come as it should be. Everything is going to flow to you as it should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to go along with that, I think that's just great life advice in general. Like, there's no point in comparing yourself to other people because diversity is what makes the world so interesting. Everything would be a very boring place if you looked outside and the landscape looked the same and houses looked the same and everyone dressed the same and there was nothing different. And like, that would be super boring and life would suck. So the fact that you could compare yourself to someone and be completely different is not a bad thing. So when you're looking at other people's pages and it's something more than you have, try to get out of that mindset. It's not more, it's just different.
Yes, love that. That's a really great place to end. It's not more, it's different.
Well, thank you guys for listening to this episode. I hope you learned a lot. I have so much more to talk about with social media, so I'm sure you will be seeing some more episodes about that posted in the future. But thank
Oh
you
yeah.
for being here.
Yeah, we're here for that. I learned so much, and I'm just sitting here talking with you. So I hope that everybody enjoyed all of your tips and insights, and stick around for next week's episode, as we're going to be talking about another topic, something new, something fresh. And we're just so glad that you're here on this journey with us. So thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you. We'll see you next week.
Yep. Bye.
Bye. Passive Aggressive Income was written, recorded, edited, and produced by co-hosts and creators Mims and Lexi. We truly want to thank our listeners, collaborators, friends, and family that continuously support us for all the love we receive. If you enjoy our show, please give us a glowing rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Also, follow us on Facebook and Instagram to see what we are up to. For any inquiries, please email passiveaggressiveincome2023@gmail.com. Episodes of Passive Aggressive Income are available wherever you listen to podcasts, so make sure to subscribe and like us on your favorite streaming platform.